Hello, welcome to Her Infinite Variety. This is episode 4. My name's Jackie Ferguson and I live on the Hebridean island of Lewis on a croft with my younger son, and this is my podcast, which is mainly about knitting, gardening and growing food, and a bit of reading and anything else that might happen to creep in. So this episode is going to be mainly about knitting with a bit of reading at the end. So I've been looking forward to doing this because knitting podcasts were what brought me along in this journey. And so my knitting journey actually began many years ago when I was about 7, and my mother decided it was time I learned to knit. And I remember being called in to the living room, and there was the living room mirror had been taken down from the wall and put on the couch. You know the kind of mirrors, I think people collect them now, they're quite retro kitsch, but this was, we actually had one. And the reason for that was that I am left-handed, and it was at a time where it was acceptable to be left-handed, but it was seen as something that held you back. And so she must have read in a magazine or something like that the way to teach a left-handed person to knit was for them to watch you in a mirror. And so I watched my mother knitting and had a wee go myself. And actually, I did get there. I quite enjoyed it. I liked the process. But I got into some horrendous tangles. I'd knit back to front, I'd knit, the wrong way. I wasn't really sure how to hold the knitting needles or the yarn or anything. I persevered for a few years and did bits and pieces, dishcloths and a pair of gloves, a pair of mittens, or pockies as we call them here. And then in the 80s I was working in an office, and that was in the days when you got like an actual tea break with a tea lady and a tea trolley came round, and then a lunch hour, and so we would take our knitting out and knit away. And an older colleague that I had at the time finally said to me, "Do you know, I cannot watch you any longer. Come over here and I'll teach you how to knit." And so she, spent quite a lot of time and was showing me how to do it the right-handed way, and how to hold the needles and how to hold the yarn and how to tension it. And fairly quickly I got there, and I've knitted that way ever since. I still am a bit clunky the way I put the yarn over, and I'm very slow, but I absolutely love doing it. I knit every day. It's I don't like not knitting if a day goes by. So I'm not very accomplished. Don't be tuning in here to see amazing shawls and sweaters every week and things like that. I'm not up on the latest patterns. I just kind of knit what I like, what I see, and I'll give things a go. I'm getting more adventurous. When I learned to knit, it was straight needles, knitting pieces, sewn up. There's none of this top down. Colourwork yokes were like very exotic. So I'm getting there. So we'll just go right into it, and we'll start off with a few finished objects as people do. And I'm wearing one that I just finished last week. I'll just let you see it. I don't know if you can, but I'll put a better picture of it up. This is the Calidaz vest by Jen Joyce Designs. You'll find her on Ravelry. And I knit this in Alpha Slopey, which is an Icelandic wool. This was given to me by my friend, my lovely friend Denise, and came in we swapped advents last year, not yarn advents, just sort of things that we know we like, and her packing material was 9 balls of this Lopi yarn, and because she was destashing and it was too dark for her to knit with. So as soon as I saw it, I knew actually, I thought, I want a waistcoat to wear out in the garden. Here it's either like really cold that you need to have big oilskins on or waterproof, big jackets on. But in the summer, there can still be a chill wind, but you don't want a jumper to overheat you. And I thought a waistcoat would be absolutely perfect. And this one, I added pockets too, so there's somewhere for my phone and somewhere for my secateurs and somewhere for the millions of seed packets that seem to end up in pockets. So I'm really, really happy with it. It was very easy. It was bottom up, knit all in one piece, bottom up, and then you pick up to do your bands. I did a garter stitch bind off. That was the only thing that I didn't do as per pattern. I've got antler buttons. Not really much else to say about it apart from it's really nice and cosy. I can imagine it will work very well over, in the croft or out in the garden. And I've called it my potting shed vest. So all my details are on my Ravelry. I am Barefoot Crofter on Ravelry, but I've linked it below. So that's my first thing. I finished that last week. Very happy with it, and I'll stick a wee picture of it in right now. So the second thing that I finished a couple of weeks ago, well, maybe finally finished at the beginning of March, although I had been on the needles. I cast it on, I think in about October-ish, and it's this pullover. This is the Saddler pullover. It's from Brooklyn Tweed Schools In collection. It's basically a riff on a traditional sweatshirt, with the stripes. So it was on their Schools In collection. You'll get it on Ravelry. I saw this on the Sticks and Twine podcast way back in September. I absolutely loved it and instantly thought, I want to knit that for my son. I could just see him in it, and and so when I came in from school, I said, do you want me to knit you a jumper, if you like? So that was all the excuse that I needed. It's got it is knit flat in pieces. It's got saddle shoulder. I don't know how easy you can see that, and you crochet the stripes afterwards, so it's not colour work, it's crocheted. They were a huge amount of fun to do. I loved doing them. Did not enjoy the miles and miles of mattress stitch, I have to say. Did not particularly like the sewn bind off on the neck, but I'm very happy with the result. This was a bit of an indulgence because it's knit in the Brooklyn Tweed shelter, which I ordered from Loop in London. I saved up for it, and I just couldn't imagine knitting it in anything else. He chose the colour. My son chose the colours. Just really, that's the exact colours that the model in the pattern is wearing. The main colour is soot, and the stripes are in storm cloud and pumice. So that is the Saddler, and I will insert a better picture of it. I don't think I'll get one of him wearing it, although you will see it on my Ravelry page. Okay. So that's it. So I'm absolutely delighted with that. I think it looks really good. Really suits him. We're going away on holiday soon, so we'll be able to wear that. One thing that I did do, which I pressed out the seams. It did say that in the pattern, and I did press the seams, and it really made a difference to the way the garment looked when it was done. You know, finishing is not my strong point, but because, you know, obviously I'd spent a small fortune on the yarn and, you know, a long time doing it, I really wanted it to look good, and I think it does. I think it looks really good. So I'm very happy with that. And my last finished object, these are all ones that I finished in the month of March, so I've not gone back a long way for finished objects. I've just sort of started from here. And these are just basic vanilla socks, double knit, DK vanilla socks, crazy sock lady, DK vanilla pattern. And these are cool. I like them. They're very comfy. They're very nice soft yarn. It's Coop Knit socks, yeah, in the beryl colourway. And yeah, I am happy with those. And that's it really for finished objects, which for me is really quite good, to be honest. So we shall move on to what I am currently working on, the works in progress. I'll put my glasses on so that I can make sure that you see what I'm doing. So this is my pediment jumper, which is a design by Marina Skua, and this is a bottom up drop shoulder jumper, knit and double knit. This is West Yorkshire Spinners Fleece, Jacob for DK double knit, yeah. And it's just a fairly plain jumper, but there's a lovely moss stitch detail. Oh, I don't know if you can, let me see. So moss stitch triangles that go up under the arms. So you're decreasing your moss stitch panels in a triangle. And so I'm really enjoying that. It's a lovely knit and I'm looking forward to it. I love the colour of that. Ravine, that is called, the colourway is Ravine. I'll just put a picture in, I think, of the sweater so you can see what it will look like. So yeah, and that's a nice easy to remember pattern of those, the moss stitch and the garter stitch. Yeah, it's good. The other thing that I'm knitting on is another pair of socks, and this is just a vanilla sock. I'm knitting this in the Woolly Mammoth hearth sock, Woolly Mammoth hearth sock, and this is in the moss colourway. This is the second time I've knitted with a non-nylon sock yarn. The first time was a bit of a disaster because I did not pick the right yarn. It was too bouncy and too soft, and probably woolen spun. I was it just wasn't robust, and I didn't enjoy that knit. And then of course I had them on one day with my leggings, and at night took the leggings off and the socks were still inside, and they ended up in the washing machine and they did not come out of it very well. So I will be very careful with these ones. But I'm enjoying the feel of them so much better. It just, they just feel quite robust, and I'm knitting them on a size 2 knitting needle. I usually am a 2.25, but she had said, Emma had said, to try going down a size and knitting them at a tighter gauge. So that seems to be working well. It took a wee while to get in the habit of using these tiny, much thinner needles. I do it at Magic Loop, but yeah, we're away. This is my morning knitting. I sort of try to do 10 rows of a sock every day. So I've got my sock in the morning, and then at night I have a bigger project like the pediment is my evening project. So that's how my knitting rolls. A couple of other things that are on the go. I'm taking part in Marita's of countryside knitting podcast. She's running a knit along of Sophia Cameborn projects, patterns. So I am knitting the skimming shawl, and this is where I am with it. Quite nice. So I'm knitting this in used wool colourways, and they're, I forget. So this is the Canach 4-ply, and the colours that I'm doing it in are Corca and Sanas, and this is the Break colourway, which I'll do the lace edging in. So I think that will be really lovely. I'm enjoying this shawl, and I tend to do work on my shawl on a Sunday. So I've kind of called it Shawl Sunday, and so that's when I concentrate on the shawl, and so I'm getting there with that. And I think I've got one more on the needles, and I've got one more project, which is a long term project. It's been on the go for a few years, and this is probably the only time you'll see this, because until it's finished, and it's just a big triangular shawl. It's the Simple but Effective Shawl by Laura Pow. Again, quite an old pattern, and this is just tonal greens. I've got 3 skeins of each green. The darker one is the Uncommon Thread, and the lighter one is from Dye Ninja. I cannot remember what the colourways are called, but yeah, I'm quite keen to get on with that. I want a really massive big shawl schlankety thing for sitting in the winter at on the sofa, and one that kind of matches my decor. So yeah, that's that. I'm just working away at that, so I'll maybe do a couple of rows now and again. I'm at the stage where the rows are getting really quite long, so each row takes a good while. But that, I think I was quite inspired by the Skeins of Dreams podcast, and the Blanket of Dreams Mal that's running there, and so I might just, that has maybe given me the impetus to pull that out a bit more and work on it. So that might very well be my entry for that. So that's what I'm working on now. So what next? What will we do next? My knitting plans are probably going to be next. So some knitting plans, and I have this lace weight yarn from Ginger Twist Studios. This is Leading Lady Lace, and is it Leading Lady Lace? No, this is Splendid Lace, and the Good Morning Green colourway, and I am always late for a bandwagon, I have to say, but I will be knitting a ranunculus with this. I'll be hoping, everybody's hoping to travel a bit more this year, and one of the places that I really hope that we get to in the summer is to my niece's wedding in Canada. That trip to Canada was put off, I think cancelled 2 days before when the pandemic struck. I think we were flying out on the 26th of March, and we were told to stay at home a few days before that, so we didn't get there. And this is us hopefully getting there in the summer, and my niece is getting married, so you know, that's going to be nice. So I thought a ranunculus, it's going to be very hot in Canada, isn't it, at that time of year in July or August. So maybe a nice lightweight top just in case it did cool down in the evenings. So that's what, so I swatched, spent ages swatching for it, and did get gauge, but again I'm not, this was gauge and I think this was gauge, so that was 2 strands of the lace weight, that was it, with 1 strand of lace weight and a strand of the cloud cumulus, which is an alpaca silk. But I just don't, I just feel the colour, it's too strong, that cumulus, so I don't want the colour to be diluted at all. So I was having a look on the Ginger Twist website, and there's a nice, she's got a nice base, which is the leading lace, which is a mohair silk, and there's a colour called Breakfast with Ginger. So I noticed that it was sold out on the website, so I sent her a message, and Jess got back to me and said that she was actually going into the dye studio this weekend, and it would be ready very soon. So by happy chance I shall be even in Edinburgh quite soon, and I'll just walk round there, or you know, get the bus round and pick it up and see what else is in the shop at the same time. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. What else have I planned to do? Oh yeah, and another bandwagon, here I go. So cone of linen cotton blend from Woolly Knit in the Lightrim colourway, beautiful. And that's just again for summer tops for my holidays. They had quite a nice pattern on their website called the Lottie top, which I did like the look of, but I've also downloaded the EDT, so I will think about that. I'll think about that once that comes further up the list. I don't know, dream knitting. Oh, quite a lot. I'm always dreaming and wandering around Ravelry looking at patterns. But I did a few months ago, a couple of months ago, I got this nice, when I bought the hearth sock, I also bought more hearth sock from Woolly Mammoth, and this is the undyed, and this is the wee mini skein set. And I was undecided because I was just going to knit socks, but then I think I saw Emma, well, there's a wee mini falling out. Emma had said this would make quite a nice Hansel hat, and indeed it would, and I've been thinking about that quite a lot as a possible project. I know the ladies at Woolly Thistle podcast are going to be running a cal. But it's too soon for me. It starts in April, and I think it runs for 6 weeks, and I'm not there yet, but I still might do the Hansel hat. That's a Gudrun Johnson design. She's Shetland trader, and she's sort of revamped her original pattern and updated it and given it in several sizes and options. So I have that in my library. I'll wait to see where that goes. But I think I've plenty to be doing. I am not the world's fastest knitter by any stretch of the imagination, so we'll just take it as it comes. I'm quite happy working on what I'm doing at the moment. So yeah, we're going away for a couple of weeks. So deciding what knitting to take. I think I'm definitely taking the skimming shawl and the socks. And I wasn't going to take the pediment, but now that I've got the pattern into my head, I think yeah, it's probably going to be reasonably portable. So hopefully I'll get to work on some of the things. I might even get some car knitting done, which is going to be a pure luxury for me because I am the driver and I drive everywhere. So it would be nice to just knit on a wee sock or something. And then we come back and we're getting some building work done. We better be getting some building work done. And so that's... But while we're away, hopefully I'll get a couple of wee yarn related trips. Certainly, we'll be going to Ginger Twist in Edinburgh. We might make a wee detour off the A1 on the way down to Parafor Trip to visit a nice yarn studio, and who knows what else. But there's certainly enough to keep me going. Well, that's the yarn aspect. I'll mention everything below that I've talked about, and yeah, that's it. Reading wise, okay, so I've got a couple of books. So the book that I'm reading, I finished the Wood book, which is lovely. This again, back to front. Sorry. This is a bit niche though. I don't know if many people will be up for this one. This is The Thistle and the Grail, and it's by Robin Jenkins. Robin Jenkins was a Scottish writer, writing mainly in the 50s, 60s, 70s-ish, maybe a bit later. His most famous book was The Cone Gatherers, which is at the moment, it's a set text for the higher English and Scottish high schools. And he was an interesting guy. He was a conscientious objector during the Second World War. So at that point, he got sent off to work in the forestry in Argyll. They had a big need for lumber during the war, so he was sent out there to work, and he wrote his book, The Cone Gatherers, based on his experience there. But it was very, obviously, I think he must have been a socialist, or he wrote a lot about class and justice for the working classes, and especially post-war, but also how the First World War and its effects came into play there. He wrote about good and evil. So, not very cheery. But this book, The Thistle and the Grail, is something, where I grew up in a mining town in central Scotland. The local football teams were a big part of local life, a big part of the life there, the support. And there their progress in the sort of Scottish Junior Cup. And you know, when I say junior, I don't mean young people. It's just they're not the big senior teams. They're the local teams. So for your local team to be doing well in the league and in the cup was important. And so this is about a wee team, I think probably in Ayrshire, a wee local team that was doing very, very badly and then suddenly gets on a miraculous cup run and gets to the final. I don't think it's a happy ending. But it's about that and how that plays about in a local community set in the 1950s, and all the different characters and how their stories and how they interconnect. And as I say, a bit niche. I mean, I grew up there. My dad played for a local football team, and you know, when I was a child, he was the secretary of the committee. So you know, there's a lot in it that I fully recognise, and a lot of characters that I recognise, and I am enjoying it. He's a kind of very understated writer that you think, you know, this is so slow, he's not saying anything, and then suddenly you realise that he's said everything. You know, he's encompassed the world in these few pages. So I am enjoying that. I'm getting a chapter and I read a night before I conk out. But yeah, it's a nice book. What else? I'm on Audible. I am listening to The Morville Year by Catherine Swift. I'd listened to her other book, The Morville Hours. It's a book about a garden. It's a gardening book. It's her memoir. She came to live in a National Trust property in Shropshire, and she made a garden, and it's the story of that. And the Morville Hours is the story of how she built this garden, but the Morville Year, which as its name suggests, goes through a year in the garden, and it talks about what is grown, and then you know you go into the history of the plant she's talking about and how it came to Britain, or how it used to be grown. And it's just beautiful. It's just really lovely the way it's written. I loved the Morville Hours. It was set based on a monastic day, you know, with the hours of the day, the known and the sext and all these things. And she wrote the book around that. But I'm enjoying this book as well, and I have downloaded Donut Economics, so that's going to be my next listen. That is by Sophie Raworth. Is that the newsreader? Let me check that one. Kate Haworth. Sophie Raworth is the newsreader. So that I had seen that mentioned on Apple Turnover Instagram. Beautiful Instagram. Really nice 3 films that she puts out. So I'm going to have a listen to that, and when we're driving down on our trip, I'll put it on and the boy can listen to it as well and see if he can be influenced. Who does that? Who tries to influence their children in the car? Anyway, that is probably it for this time. I hope I haven't talked too quickly and in too much of an accent, and that you've understood me and that I've looked at you. But yeah, I was really wanting to get this knitting one out, and I think it's, as I say, I'm getting some building done when we come back, so it's probably going to be the end of the month before I have anything either here or in the garden to show you. What did I do? I collected some nettles yesterday and some wild garlic and made pesto, which was lovely, so I'll stick some pictures of them on at the end. That was a nice wee project, enjoyed doing that. And Yeah, thanks for coming along. I'm on Instagram, which I post a lot of stuff, as Jackie_Ferguson, and Ravelry is Barefoot Crofter, and blog Her Infinite Variety, which I've not been to since January. But I'm around, and yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy wee insights into the croft life, and we'll see you soon. Thanks very much for coming by. Bye now.